Because in the event that Donald Trump loses and the left starts taking screenshots of this video to try and imply that I was screaming Trump was definitely going to win, I'm including a tweet from an Atlantic writer who says, McKay Coppins tweets, if Trump wins, MAGA types are going to crow that the media got it wrong again. When in fact, everyone in the media is so terrified of being wrong that every other sentence they write now is, quote, Trump could definitely still win. And it's true. Trump might win, and he might win in a landslide, depending on which forecast models you're looking at. There is a poll for everyone. Why? If you want to believe that Trump is on track to win, just check out the Democracy Institute with Sunday Express, putting Donald Trump nationally 1 point above Joe Biden. However, if you want to convince yourself that Joe Biden is in fact going to win, I got a forecast model for you coming straight from 538, a 90% chance to win for Donald Trump. But the media as a whole, to use the quote from McKay Coppins of The Atlantic, is basically saying Joe Biden's gonna win. And he's putting this caveat up on Twitter like, if we are wrong, please, we understand Trump might actually win. But there are some reasons to believe he might actually win. Notably that the polls are wrong. The polls are definitely wrong. And that's just because they're weighted models. That means the pollsters need to understand the changes in demographics in this country to get an accurate prediction. And because of this, they have a margin of error. In 2016, according to The Atlantic, there was a historical failure of 5 percentage points. Right now, it would have to be around 8 or 9 percentage points. And they say that's extremely unlikely. Donald Trump is not going to win. He might, but not really. We really think Biden's going to win. And it seems like they're throwing the might in there for the same reason that this man, McKay, is saying, that they're scared of being wrong. But most of them think they're kind of right. I'm not entirely convinced. And in the end, it really just comes down to which, faction you're on, which faction you're in. Do you trust the media? Do you not trust the media? If Trump wins in a landslide, people are going to say, I knew it. The media was wrong. And if Trump loses, they're going to say, well, the media did say. And the media is going to do the same thing if Trump wins. Well, we did say Trump might win. There are a couple interesting statistical models and forecast models showing that new methods are giving a better prediction rate for who is going to win. You see, these traditional methods of asking people who you're going to vote for just don't cut it. You know why? Because most people, first of all, right now, especially right now, don't want to admit who they're voting for. I know there's people who argue there's no such thing as the Trump secret voter. Oh, there definitely is. I know them. People in my life, my friends, my family, people I know from Chicago that I've grown up with, terrified to tell me that they're voting for Donald Trump. Or I should say terrified that someone will find out. And that is why, according to Trafalgar Group, they believe Trump is on track to win. USC Dornsif says wisdom of the crowds. They ask people not who they're voting for. They say, who do you think your friends are voting for? And this new method of polling has been accurate in the past 5 elections they've tracked, which have included some European polls. And of course, we have the forecaster Helmut Norpoth, who uses what he calls the primary model. And he says based on the primary election, Donald Trump has a 91% chance to win because his model has only been wrong twice since 1912. Very interesting. But ultimately, look, no one really knows. No one knows. But I can tell you this. We are just a few days away, and the polls are already starting to weaken for Joe Biden. From the New York Post, presidential race tightening as Biden lead dips in battlegrounds poll. Before we read this and start talking about how Donald Trump's victory will destroy media credibility for generations, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There are many ways you can give. There's a P.O. box. You want to send me some stuff. But the best thing you can do is share this video. I want to give you a decent assessment of why people think Trump might win and why people think Trump might lose. The Atlantic has a great write-up saying, here's all the reasons Donald Trump cannot win. Of course, they don't necessarily mention any new kind of polling systems or forecast models, but I think it's interesting nonetheless. If you think this information is rational, relevant, and important, you can support my channel by sharing it with people and letting them know Trump might actually win, Biden might actually win, and you've got 2 different factions both convinced it's going to be them. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's read the first story, which is bad news for Joe Biden. Presidential race tightening as Biden lead dips in battlegrounds poll. The race for the White House is tightening according to a new poll, with Joe Biden's national lead dipping to just under 5% and a much closer 3% margin in the battleground states. The results of the IBD-TIPP tracking poll released Saturday give President Trump fresh hope for another electoral college win, even if he loses the popular vote. Quote, Biden has a narrow 3-point edge in swing states. Those 6 states decided by less than 2 points in 2016. Biden has 49.5% nationwide support in the poll of likely voters, compared to 44.7% for the incumbent, a 4.8% lead, well outside its 3.2% margin of error. Trump gained almost a full point on Biden from the poll's Friday measurement, which found the Democrat with a 5.6% lead. The survey has found a consistent but seesawing Biden lead in recent weeks, with Trump only 2 points behind on October 20th. I want to stop there. As I mentioned, I got an article from The Atlantic that says the failure rate from 2016 was 5 points. If they're saying that the battleground states are at 3 points, sounds like Donald Trump is going to win, doesn't it? Well, maybe these likely voter polls aren't enough. Maybe they don't really matter, right? I mean, national polling is meaningless. Everybody seems to think that Joe Biden's going to win the national popular vote. Well, that makes sense. You know why? Many people who live in blue areas are highly concentrated, or I should say the blue areas are highly dense. Everyone knows this. Los Angeles, New York, etc. So they're all going to come out in droves. People who've never voted before are going to come out in droves, and Joe Biden might see a very, very impressive popular vote lead. But Donald Trump is likely to win the Electoral College according to several different models. How about USC Dornsif? Check this out. Are these experimental polling questions pointing to a Trump victory? 2 new questions added to the USC Dornsif Daybreak poll this year, reported separately from the main results, predict that the national popular vote for president could be much closer than most polls are predicting. They also suggest Trump will once again win in the Electoral College. They say, this election season, the USC Dornsif Daybreak poll is reporting predictions for the presidential election based off a few different methodologies. The poll's standard methodology is to ask a panel of participants what the chance is they will vote for each of the candidates running for president. It is known as a voter intention question. The question asked by most polls to predict the share of the popular vote that each candidate will receive. In this year's Daybreak poll, researchers are asking participants 2 additional questions that are intended to, as they say, harvest the wisdom of the crowds to predict the election outcome. The social circle question asks respondents to report the percentage of their social contacts they expect to vote for each of the candidates. The other one, known as the state winner question, asks participants who they think will win the election in their state. The researchers studying the data related to these wisdom of the crowd questions are Wandy De Bruin of the USC Dornsif Center for Economic and Social Research and USC Schaefer Center for Health and USC Schaefer Center for Health Policy and Economics. Murda Glasik, they go through all the people. Here's the first, they say, what's the value of asking people which candidate they expect other people in their circle to vote for? From our previous research on social judgments, we learned that people seem to know their immediate social circles quite well. Their answers about the distribution of income, health status, even the relationship satisfaction of their friends, family, and acquaintances were often in the right ballpark. And when we averaged the data from their responses across a large national sample, it provided a surprisingly accurate picture of the overall population. So we're hoping to learn whether it's possible from this question to harvest this wisdom of one's own crowd to predict the election as well as, or even better than, the standard questions about one's own voting intention. This is actually quite brilliant. You know why? Polls are not just polls. Okay, look, I can go to the mall and I can put up a clip. I can hold a clipboard and stop random people and say, I asked 1,000 random people, what's your favorite topping on ice cream? And they said overwhelmingly cookie dough. That's a poll. What they do for political polls is they'll poll 1,000 people and then say, okay, now we're going to remove everybody except 10 seniors, 10 teenagers, 10, parents. and they choose who to include based on what they think is representative of voter bases, national statistics, and averages. And guess what? According to Robert Cahaley of the Trafalgar Group, and I did mention this the other day, they claim to have fixed their polls from 2016 where they had a 5-point error. But guess what? In Florida, they still had a 4-point error. And they missed Ron DeSantis winning in Florida, suggesting they still don't know. Now, Rob thinks when you ask someone, are you going to vote for Trump? Oh, no, not me. I would never. What about your friend? Oh, my friend definitely would. Because they don't care if you're mad at the friend. They just don't want to be the one to get called out. What ends up happening with this from USC Dornsiff is that they'll ask people, tell me about the people around you. They'll then scale that up as their polling model and find in the past 5 elections they've tried it. They say, have responses to this question successfully predicted any previous election outcomes? Yes. In all 5 of the elections in which we tested this question, the social circle question predicted election outcomes better than traditional questions about voters' own intentions. In both the U.S. elections, the social circle question predicted national and state level results better than the own intention question in the same poll. In fact, data from the social circle question in 2016 accurately predicted which candidate won each state. So it predicted Trump's electoral college victory. It's important to acknowledge, however, that we're still studying the predictive capability of this question, and we don't know if it will be successful this election cycle. It's possible the pandemic could impact responses to this question because reduced interaction with friends and family might hinder the ability to predict how they'll vote. I disagree. I think it's going to exacerbate. If they're saying that Donald Trump is going to win based on their friends and family, then Donald Trump is going to landslide. You know why? When you're hanging out with your friends, you get a decent idea of what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and what they might do. And when you're asked, I think my friends are going to vote for Trump, you say. What if you're not hanging out with them? You don't really know, and you only see what they're posting online. So in a sense, you may have a better understanding, but for the shy Trump voter, of which there is, according to many different studies, some people, that means these people aren't going to post at all. In private, they might say, I'm going to vote for Trump. On their Facebook, oh, they're not going to post. No way. Not to everyone. In which case, I would say they're underestimating Trump. So, and in their own poll, predicting he's going to win, underestimating. Now, we have Robert Cahaley of the Trafalgar Group. They say the pollster who thinks Trump will win, Robert Cahaley foresaw the outcome in 2016, will social acceptability bias deliver another surprise? Now, this one is all about nobody wanting to admit they'll vote for Trump. And he brings up a really important point. What was the worst thing that would happen in 2015 or 16 if he said you were going to vote for Trump? Your neighbors might get mad at you. People might look down on you. You don't want to be looked down upon. You know, like, oh, someone's going to be like, they're not going to be disappointed. They're going to be upset with me, you know. What's the worst that happens now to Trump supporters? Well, one guy got shot twice in the chest. So there's that. Some people are harassed, fired from their jobs, banned from social media. So yeah, maybe people are really scared to speak up. And because of that, Robert Cahaley believes, well, we're going to see a Donald Trump victory, a very serious victory. Now, look, I know 538 is all about telling you Biden is favored to win the election, saying that in 22 scenarios, Trump only wins in 2. Interesting. That's kind of crazy if you were to ask me, that they don't think Trump could even, that he's got a 10% chance to win. Now, 538 got it wrong last time. Or I should put it this way. 538 said Trump had a 27% chance of winning. And they say we didn't get it wrong. We said he had a 27% chance of winning, and then he won. That fell into the 27% chance. Sure, everybody thinks they know, but I don't think they do. Here's what I think. I think we're seeing a factionalizing and a fractionalizing of communities in the U.S., making it very, very hard to track. People are scared to speak up because of the various tribes that are forming in the culture war. And thus, the pollsters don't know how to accurately gauge people. USC Dornsiff seems to have a very good idea about how to figure out what people are thinking and who they're going to vote for. Ask them about their friends. It's actually really, really smart. But The Atlantic says Don't sweat the polls. Why the 2020 election won't be a 2016 sequel. I look forward to Wednesday or the week from Wednesday, whenever, when we find out who was wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, if the forecasters and the pollsters and the pundits and the media get this one wrong again, like The Atlantic may be about to, it will destroy media credibility for generations. For the second presidential election, they screwed up. And they screwed up in Florida. No one really talks about that, do they? I only just learned this recently. I didn't realize the polls in Florida were predicting DeSantis to lose. And then he won. That's fascinating. And that suggests the polls will likely be off again. But by how much? I don't know for sure. But maybe they're not off. Look, to be honest, I don't know who's going to win. Far be it from me to challenge the experts. Helmut Norpoth says 91% chance that Trump wins 362 electoral votes. That is a bold prediction. And that, this guy, I think he's from, was it Storybrooke University or is it Stony Brook? Whatever. This professor, dude, he's putting his reputation on the line with this. I mean, he's saying, I got a model. Here's what it says. What if he's wrong? Does he want to risk his professional credibility by throwing out some ridiculous prediction? The media doesn't either. And I think the only thing you can then realize is that nobody knows who's going to win. Now, the polls are starting to flip in some battlegrounds in favor of Trump, so Biden better watch out. But here's what The Atlantic says. Derek Thompson writes, 1. In 2016, the pollsters totally whiffed on the Great Lakes states. Great Lakes states. In 2020, they've changed their methods. 2. In 2016, a ton of undecided voters broke late for Trump. In 2020, most of those voters have already decided. 3. In 2016, we had the mother of all October surprises. In 2020, we have the most stable race in decades. Now, I'm going to stop there and say that's true. But there certainly was an October surprise pertaining to Hunter Biden, which the media refused to cover because they're partisan activists. 4. In 2016, district-level polls indicated a last-minute Democratic collapse. In 2020, they indicate Democratic strength. 5. In 2016, there wasn't a global pandemic. In 2020, there is a global pandemic. He goes on to say, no one can say for sure who will win the election. If undecideds in key states such as Pennsylvania break hard for Trump, and the president benefits from another large polling error or smallish errors in the right places, he could eke out another victory. Or he could fight Biden to a tie and then win the ensuing legal battles that discount Democratic mail ballots. But that is not the most likely outcome. Biden holds a solid and steady lead over the incumbent president, while the pandemic is becoming more, not less, of a story as the country heads into final days of voting. When the president complained once again on Monday about the news media's pandemic obsession, his critique usefully crystallized his campaign's biggest problem: COVID. The most important difference between 2016 and 2020 isn't about polling methodology or the opposing candidate. It's about this. 4 years ago, Trump ran on the vague promise of success. And this year, he's running on a clear record of failure. Judging by the polls, Americans have noticed. Perhaps. Yes, absolutely. But let me tell you. Do you know how many stories I hear from people who say they're secretly going to go vote for Trump? I can tell you definitively there's at least 30 secret Trump voters in the world. Statistically insignificant from my anecdotal evidence. But I'm surprised to see people I grew up with in Chicago Democrats, telling me they're voting Trump and Republican down ticket. Some of these people, I'm like, I get a message saying like, don't tell anybody, but so-and-so's just said they're going to vote for Trump. And I'm like, whoa, they should go tell everybody. No, they're scared. They won't do it. And that's why it's so hard to know for sure. When I look at my inner circle, my friends, my family, the people I've known for a long time, it's Trump country, baby. And we are from Chicago, okay? From the South Side, Democrat, deep blue Democrat. When I look outside in my suburban area in Philadelphia, I've talked to so many people who are lifelong Democrats who have just with no problem been like, oh, I'm voting for Trump. Will they post that online? I don't know. Will they get polled? I don't know. We got some polling data, though, and I'm going to show you. There is a real path. Ignore the forecasters. take a look at some of these polling charts. First of all, here's the Trump versus Biden general election. Joe Biden is up 7.8 in the average. But let's take a look at top battlegrounds. In the top battleground states, Joe Biden is up 3.1, and oh boy, it's starting to look a lot like Hillary. They said she was up 3 points. That's right. In Arizona, Trump just took the lead. These are the key battleground state aggregate, with Joe Biden seeing a 3.1 lead. They say in Michigan, Joe Biden is up 6.5, Pennsylvania 3.7, Florida is 1.2. The margin of error is 3 or 4 points. And there was a 5-point failure last time around. We could be looking at the collapse of media as we know it. Because, well, not all media. I just mean in terms of electoral predictions and punditry. No one's going to ever want to go to them again. They're going to need to get new jobs. This is the current 2020 electoral college map based on current polling. They say right now there's 197 toss-up electoral votes. Democrats are favored to win just because they have very large, deep blue states. Republicans have more states, but there's a lot of states that we just don't know where they're going to end up. When we look at the battle for the Senate, Republicans are slightly favored to win. This is just in terms of toss-ups, and I'm not including polls, mind you. This is not a forecast or prediction. This is in terms of likely to swing Republican, likely to swing Democrat, and toss-up states. Republicans right now seem to be at 46 in the Senate to 45 for Democrats, meaning Republicans very well may hold on to the Senate. And although many people have been claiming the GOP is going to lose it, I've been hearing now that Democrats are worried they can't. They're going to need a miracle. That's good news for the Republicans. We have this battle for the House. Now, the Democrats are very favored to win the House. And so this looks really bad for Republicans. They currently have the House now. It is still possible, based on toss-ups, the Republicans win. But I want to make sure I point out, it's entirely possible that these lean blue states do flip. And although it's extremely unlikely, the deep blue and deep red states could flip. I don't know for sure, though. But I'll tell you what, if there is a polling error that is a margin of error 3 to 4 points, plus as Trafalgar Group said, that people are scared to answer, and that's good. And according to Cloud Research, 10% of Trump supporters are lying. We might be looking at some blue states flipping red. What you need to understand about, say, the Reagan landslide or the Nixon landslide is that he didn't win every vote. You know, people see 1988 and 1972? I can't remember. Nixon and Reagan had 49 state landslides. But it wasn't like they won 99% of the votes. They didn't. They won just over, I think, a plurality, not even a majority. I think Reagan got a majority. Nixon, I believe, got a plurality. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I believe it was a majority for both. I don't have it pulled up, so whatever. The point is, tens of millions of people still voted for the Democrats in those elections. Just not enough. We're looking at the states flipping red. But, I really doubt California is going to turn red. But as you can see in this congressional map, Eastern California is all Republican. And there's Central California, and that's toss-up. You've got San Diego, the San Diego area, which is also Republican. It's entirely possible that only a few percentage points can swing a district. What you need to know about, say, Ocasio-Cortez's district, I believe she won last time with like 170,000 votes in her district. Probably people just showing up and saying Democrat. But there are an estimated around 200,000 or so Republicans in that district. And I guess enough of them just don't vote. Imagine if every single Republican went in Ocasio-Cortez's district and voted Republican, no matter who it was. AOC would lose. She would absolutely lose. Now, we are seeing record voter turnout, which basically says, I really don't think that's possible because there are way more Democrats. They just mostly don't vote. But what about some moderate or independent left-leaning individuals? You've got independents that vote Democrat. What if they flipped? It's possible. I don't think it's very, very likely at all, however. So in the end, I can't tell you what to expect, but it looks like, and I'm just going to say it looks like governors will remain Republican. The House will remain Democratic. The Senate could go either way, but is slightly favored to remain Republican. And the presidency, oh man, I have no idea. My gut right now tells me Donald Trump is going to win. That's not just me. That's everybody. When polled, the majority of people say they think Donald Trump is going to win. The wisdom of the crowds, right? There have been several polls asking, who do you think will win? They say Trump. Now we have polls saying, who are your friends going to vote for? And they say Trump. Stands to reason that people won't admit who they're going to vote for, but they think people are going to vote for Trump. I think so too. You know why? I think the money is good. That's it. I think we're all better off now. And I think people are getting sick and tired of the violence, the riots, cancel culture, wokeness. Nobody wants to speak up, though. They're scared. So I tell you this. I know a lot of people. I know progressives who hate cancel culture. No joke. Not even kidding. I wouldn't call them super politically active. They're just people who are very progressive. I wonder how many of them are going to secretly vote for Donald Trump and just never admit it to anyone. More than you realize. I hope so. I hope so. The media and the Democrats need to be told the American people will not tolerate your corruption and your lies any longer. But we will see. For today is Saturday, I think. Is it Saturday? And the election is only a few days away. A few days. This is going to be crazy. I'm having a big party. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastNews. It's a different channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.